CACFP.net business module with Kelly Matthews. So welcome. And I am going to turn it over to Kelly. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm going to ask a poll question. So we just want to learn a little bit more about you and who our audience is. And so what you should see on your screen is a question that says, how long have you been doing family child care? You should be able to click on that on your screen and answer the question. Oh, they're answering. Oh, you're fast. Half of you have voted, so take your time. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. So it looks like a lot of people, if these walls could talk, 10 to 20 years. Interesting. I'd say the next largest group of you is this gray hair didn't happen by itself, 20 or more. A number of proud newbies, wonderful. So in the field for 0 to 2 years, and some not my first rodeo, 5 to 10 years, and a few been around the block. So we've got a wide range of experience levels here. And so then I just share those results to you. You can see how you answered. And then we've got one more question, which is, do you currently use a budget? And so you've got a couple of options. A budget, what's that? On up to I have a budget and regularly check what I spend against it. So it looks like most of you somewhere in the middle. About a third of you, if I have money in my account, that means I can afford it. About a quarter of you, I sort of know what's coming in and going out each month. A few more, 20%, I have a budget and regularly check it. Wonderful. And then 9% each is what I'm seeing for a budget, what's that, which is perfectly understandable. That's why you're here. And also the budget's in place with accurate numbers. All right, great. Thank you. And those are the results of that. So now I will turn it over to Kelly.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Kelly. I know it might be hard to get excited about business stuff, but just go ahead and let me be excited for you for now. Once you see the module, I have a feeling you might just get excited all on your own. There we go. And you can click one more time. Now is a great time to get a handle on your financials with the start of the new year just behind us. In fact, any time is a great time to get your financial records under control because every year, like it or not, you have to file taxes, and this program can help. This is an exciting program add-on since you are already using CACFP.net for your meal record keeping. We've designed this business record section to be a clearinghouse for all of your financial records and other necessary business practices, paperwork, and record keeping, and it is currently exclusively available to those of you on the WECA Food Program. For those of you working with YoungStar, rest assured, everything we have created aligns with the required components for the budget indicator as well as the other required tracking, which I will show you all soon. For those of you not on YoungStar, guess what? All the modules are great for you as well. We've based our work on the best practices of Tom Copeland, the national expert on family child care business practices. Another fantastic feature of this program is security. Currently, your meal record data is available to be viewed by the food program staff, and that will remain. But you lock the door to your financial information by setting up a password that puts up a brick wall between the food program staff and anyone else for that matter, and your financial information. We will show you how to do that near the beginning of our module review so you can set it up for yourself once we're finished with the webinar. Oh, and the best part, did we mention that this is free? That's right, free. And not only free, but you are the first group to get to immediately access this module. And what is really cool is that as soon as we're finished with the webinar, you can get started. We want this module to be a useful tool. So as we explore it together today, if you have ideas, ways to improve, or other suggestions, please enter those in the question box. That way, after the webinar, we can take notes and make changes. We can't promise to enact every suggestion, like the one you are thinking about, that this program should be able to read your mind and enter all the numbers for you, but those that are feasible will be considered. Just a few words about me. My name is Kelly Matthews, and I love all things budgeting. It's true. I'm also the YoungStar Business Practice Specialist for the state, and I helped write and vet the requirements for family child care providers, so I know what YoungStar is looking for, and I know what current best practice is. Tom Copeland knows me by name. That's how much contact I've had with him in developing these materials. I'm also going to let you in on a little secret. This is my very first webinar. I want it to be awesome for you. I do a lot of training for my work and usually rely very heavily on body language to check in with folks. Since we aren't making you all be on the webcam so we can see your beautiful faces, it's going to be a bit tricky for me. So please, please, please ask questions if you have them. I can't see your puzzle books. Type questions into the question box. We will be using the hand raising as needed for yes, no check-ins questions along the way, but won't be able to call on individuals for questions that way. So raise your hand if you're ready to get started. We're seeing some hands go up. Awesome. All right.
We do have a general question here I want to ask. So wondering how this will compare to Minute Menu Kids, which I've been using for years.
My understanding is that we have a lot of the similar components that Minute Menu has as far as being able to make reports, track income and expenses, and those sorts of things. And unlike Minute Menu, this is free. So to me, that's an automatic benefit. And we've worked hard to make sure that it is a usable tool that will actually make your business record keeping easier. So hopefully as we poke around in it and you get to see all the different components, you can compare for yourself and see how it lines up with Minute Menu. All right. Are we ready to close out of the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Dive into CACFP.net website.
So now I'm going to change the controls over to Kelly, and she'll be showing her screen. So give us just a moment to do that.
Look at that. I'm guessing you can see my screen now. Hooray.
And actually, since we changed the panelists, I just want to make sure people can hear. So once Kelly starts to talk, if we could get another show of hands. I've never used the audio quite in this way.
So I'm going to introduce myself now with the screen and as the panelist. And if you can hear me, please pop up a hand so we know. Yay! Hands are going up. That means this is going to be a success. Awesome. All right, so you are probably familiar with this site as it is where you already log in all your food program data. But wait, there's more. Check out this shiny new tab. Ooh. Under the business records section, we have 8 items you can click. I will give you a general explanation of each, and then we will have a look in depth at each along with taking any questions you have each section. But before we start with content, we need to log in because we are entering the part of the program that holds private financial information. For you to create a password, you will go to the Help tab, which is right next door here, and hit Settings. This is where you will enter your password. Make sure you save your password and also keep a copy of it somewhere secure in case you forget it. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. There is a security function on here that if you step away from your computer for a long time, it will actually log you out so no one can come in behind you and mess with your financial stuff. So we're going to look just at this box here and kind of do a general walkthrough. Oh, and it changed order since I was last on. Fantastic. All right. I'm going to go in the order that I have in my notes just so I don't lose my place. Budget. This is a place to plan for your upcoming financial year for business income and expenses. For those who are needing to show your technical consultant or formal rater an annual budget, we've got you covered. And we're going to go in and click into each of these so that you'll get to see them in depth. Checkbook, a place for you to track your financial activity just like you do a real checkbook register. The upside is this one tracks the math for you and allows you to take income and expenses with categories so you can pull reports and get totals at the end of the year, making tax time and future budgeting easier. Account setup. Here's where you set up profiles for those who are financially responsible for paying for your services. Usually this will be the parents, but it might be grandparents, guardians, or others. Invoicing, a place for you to create customizable invoices for your clients outlining what is owed for your services. Payment posting is a place to track the payments made on the invoices you sent and attach those payments made to the correct client. Below that is time tracking. Most family child care providers have a magical formula, that time-space percentage. Here's the place for you to track your time for that calculation. There's also a place to track children's attendance. And then reports. Here's the place where the rubber hits the road. We enter accurate data all along the way so that the computer can do the math for us and make the calculations to give us a clear picture of our financial standing. We will go over each report that is possible with this drop-down during the webinar. And dashboard has disappeared for now? Oh, dashboard is up. Gotcha. And so the screen that it automatically defaults to is what we call informally the dashboard. This is a quick peek at how you're doing financially, a sort of snapshot. It shows the checkbook registers last 10 entries on the right. Oops, sorry. And on the right, it shows the budget with any expenses spent in those budgeted categories. You can see at a glance how you're doing with cash on hand and what you've spent so far in your business categories. So I'm going to pause right here and see if there's any general questions before we start digging in.
Not right now.
All right.
So, Angela, you just raised your hand, so if you can type into the chat box if you've got a question. So here's the question, can you export the data to your tax account?
Yes. So all of the reports that we have are exportable, either in PDF form for some of them or Excel form as is appropriate. And we are working to make them easily kind of back into other tax programs so that you have the data that you need available to you.
And so is the cash in your account tied into your bank account, or do you need to manually enter the information?
You will need to manually enter the information. This does not pull from your bank. It is not officially linked to your bank account. So you actually do need to actually type in the deposits that are made and that sort of thing so that you have that information in here, because this program does not talk to your bank at this point. Awesome questions. Anything else popping up right now?
So all the business records can be used on a Mac?
Yes, I'm getting thumbs up from our developer that they will also work on a Mac. Angela says yes. All right, we're getting some happy responses from that.
And what do your home repairs consist of, like siding?
Oh, sure. So we can get into some of the different portions. I'm just going to scroll down here so you can see some of the other categories here. There's places for home repairs that you would need. There should also be, I believe, a maintenance category, supplies, household. No, maybe not specifically that. So that would probably go under the, where'd it go? Yeah, we'll flip over to the budget page and we can show the categories there. So for simplicity, we're going to take the tabs in order for our discussion. I will run through the demo for each section. If you have a question, you can type it in right away so you don't forget. And I will pause before moving on to the next section to answer questions. Andrea will be here to help me list the questions so I can answer them between the sections. And she will totally interrupt me if need be as we move through.
Well, I'll just keep asking these. They're pretty specific.
Okay.
Do you want me to wait?
No, go ahead.
So will it total at the end of the year?
Yes, we have a year-end report both for income and expenses.
Will it work on an iPod or an iPad? You probably mean iPad. Tablet?
Our developers think so. We might have to check that for compatibility. We are also looking into making sure that there's an app for tablet use for the children's time in and time out function so that you can enter it from a tablet if you want. So that's something we're looking into to make sure that it's compatible.
And are the categories customizable? Can I delete unnecessary ones or add new ones?
At this point, they are standing categories. We've based them on the categories that line up with the tax categories. We have included a quality improvement plan line item for the budget because that's required for YoungStar. And even if you're not in YoungStar, you still might want to set aside money for quality improvements that you have in mind for your program. There are some spots on the budgeting form that is just marked other. And so in that spot, you can customize for any categories that we did not hit that you need to have in your budget.
And just one more question, how long is it retained?
Developer?
Whatever the legal requirements are.
Whatever the legal requirements are, they will be retained. So we will actually probably look into that.
Here's 7 years.
I think 7 years is usually what we hold on to. And plus you could export it at any time so you can always have paper copies available as needed.
That's all for now.
Okay, so those are all the questions we're going to do for now, and then we will move in to the tabs. All right, I lied. We're going to bump around a little bit and not take these in order because that's the way my speaking notes are, and I don't want to get confused. So let's move to budget. This is the foundation of business planning, and to take all the scariness out of it, a budget is just a guess. How many folks have been to one of my business trainings? Raise your hand, if any. Oh, I see a friend. Got a couple hands up. Awesome.
A couple people.
So I've got 3 of my closest friends here on the line with me today. If you've been to one of my business trainings, you know that a budget is just a guess. We want to make it our best, most careful, most thoughtful guess, but it is a guess all the same. The nice thing is that if you have a sense of how much you spend per month, you can type that in, hit save at the bottom, and the total will automatically calculate for you in the annual amount. So I'm going to scroll down slowly so I don't make anybody sick. This is where the save button is, down at the bottom here. So once you type in a number for, let's say, water and sewer, let's say that's going to be $100. I'm going to hit save. It's going to refresh. I'm going to slowly scroll down again to not make you seasick. Yep. And now you will see that that's the monthly amount here, and that the annual amount has calculated in the category in the column right next to it. For those of you working with YoungStar, we've included a line item for your QAIP. People call it the QAIP. They call it all sorts of stuff, and that's right here. For those of you not working with YoungStar, like I said, you can use the QAIP line for setting aside any improvements you've identified that you want to make as well. And we also have a line for other. And I was thinking that this was in, there we go. We have other deductibles, so those would be business expenses that you would have, or things that might not be deductible that you want to include in your programming because that's just how your world works right now. Excuse me. As I said, we can't possibly be in your head to guess all the things that you want to spend money on. And finally, we have a link here at the top. If you need more support on this budgeting process, this is a free online tutorial that talks about budgeting in general for family child care providers. The tutorial was done before this module for CACFP.net existed and uses existing budgeting resources created for YoungStar, but that are available to all family child care providers on the YoungStar website. And you can always sign up for business practices training in your area for face-to-face support. So I'm going to take us back to the budget.
And Annette, just to answer one of your questions, QAIP, Quality Improvement
Quality Improvement Plan. Yes, that is the QAIP. I will try not to talk in alphabet soup.
Amy says she did the tutorial. She didn't die. You're funny.
All right, so we have somebody that has actually worked their way through the tutorial and did not die. That is high praise. The nice thing is that in the tutorial we've embedded all of the worksheets that are on paper that YoungStar has made available on the website, and I will show you where that is a little bit later. So if you want to work this all out on paper and mess around with it before you enter, if you want to play with it on the computer first, either way will work. The most important thing is to make it as most accurate as you can. And so we can talk a little bit about how that works. All right, any more questions before moving on?
I'm not sure what cathedral means. I have most of this complete online, but I never use the in and out section. Do I have to?
Oh, sure. She's talking about the in and out section for kids, I'm guessing. You do not have to track. You do have, okay, so let me back up. You do have to track children's attendance, both for licensing, certification, or for the food program. You do not have to track it on the computer. If you want to use some of the calculations that the computer makes available to you so that you, for when you invoice parents and that sort of stuff, you might want to start putting it on the computer, but you don't have to. And we will show you, for all of those going, what's the in and out thing? We will show you that in a little bit.
And can we print the information?
Yes. There are reports right here that give you like the checkbook register for all of your entries and the categories that you have attached to them, income and expense report for what you've spent in the different categories, the year-to-date spending, the meals, which is pretty straightforward, and to print an invoice. And so we'll be looking at all of those before the night is through. I promise. All right, moving on. Now we're going to head to checkbook. This works just like a regular checkbook register. No, I take that back. It works even better than a regular checkbook because as you enter your deposits or withdrawals, it takes care of totaling up your balance. So we can actually look at how to do a deposit. So I'm going to click on here, add a deposit. Today's date, I hit the bank. This is going to be from, oh, let's just make it fun. There we go. Jordy Nelson is one of my clients. And you know what? Dude made a total late payment fee. He's making it to the playoffs, but he can't make it to pick up his kid on time. And I'm being completely fictional. He is not one of my clients, nor am I slandering him in any way. But we're going to make a $10 deposit. And we're going to say he was late, picking up on the 14th. And then we're going to save that. And then you will see, there's Mr. Nelson, the fictitious Jordy Nelson, with a $10 deposit. And the math for this actually goes from top to bottom. When I first looked at it, I was thinking as a regular checkbook going top down, and it confused me, so I just want to be really clear that this was the previous one, and now it adds an additional $10. And if I need to click on here again for some reason, it brings up the deposit if I need to make any sort of edits or that sort of thing before moving on. Any questions?
No.
No. Pretty straightforward, hey? I know. It's very exciting. This was my favorite, $3,000 deposit. That makes for a good day, right? All right. Account setup. This is where you will set up accounts for those who will be responsible for payments. This is a little different than just putting in parental or guardian information because in some cases, not every adult connected to a child is legally responsible for paying for their care. Best practice is to reference your contracts with your clients. The folks who have signed that document are the ones responsible for payment and should have an account created. Are we able to actually do an account demo?
Yep.
Okay.
Everybody. Hey, Jordy.
Oh, yes. All right. So we're going to add Mr. Nelson as one of my new clients. He just started and he was already late. Jordy Nelson, 1, 2, 3, 4. Home Greenway, Green Bay, that is Wisconsin. Whoops. I have no idea what the zip code is, though I should. So we're just going to make one up. That is not a real phone number. Don't try to call it because it will not be him. I am Jordy. That is also a made-up email. Don't try to email him.
Are those all required fields?
They are not all required fields. So we already have other famous alumni in our program. We have Tina Turner as one of our parents as well. So you can see that she does not have a phone or email because she's kind of private that way. So, and if we make a mistake or we need to delete an account, they're no longer part of our program, that sort of thing, we can actually take out an account as well. I will say if you have parents who are separated, legally divorced, that sort of thing, and are both required payors on your contract, it would be in your best interest to set up separate accounts for each of them so that you can divvy out the child care payments as required per your contract with each of them.
And so can you print parent account totals like the W-10?
Oh, at the end of the year statement? Is that what you mean? I'm going to ask a clarifying question.
Is that what you mean, Amy?
So at the end of the year, we often give tax statements to our parents that tell them all the money that they spent in care with us. And if that's what you're talking about, that comes into the parents' invoicing, and we can do that.
We can work on W-10 reports.
And our developer says we can work on putting into W-10 reports directly.
So can you mark them inactive if they're no longer with you?
You don't need to mark them inactive. You can just leave them there and just not post anything to those accounts, and then they'll just stay dormant until you add a new payment posting to that invoice or to that account. And so that probably will make a little more sense as we go to the next screen, which will be the invoicing screen, but I want to make sure that if we covered all the questions for this one.
And then asked, will it total at the end of the year?
Yes, so each dollar amount, so let's say Tina Turner makes a payment. I'm going to go back just to the checkbook. So we will see that, oh, Tina Turner has not yet made a payment. Okay, but Jordy has, and he's got an account now. So we will go and we'll have to post when he makes a payment to us. We're going to actually attach it to his account. So that way then at the end of the year, all payments made by Jordy's account will total up to him, and we'll have a running total of what he has paid for the year. I'm going to assume that that makes sense to everybody. And we're going to go ahead. Invoicing. When you are ready to invoice, and that basically means to create a bill to a responsible party for your services, you must hit Add to start a new invoice, or create a new invoice as it has so conveniently become. Am I allowed to do this now officially? All right. Look at that. So when that happens, you will notice that there is an invoice with a number now up here. So that number gets attached to whoever we set this bill to. So we will know that invoice 1011 or 1011 is going to be connected to Jordy. Oh, you know what? We don't have, do we have? There we go. Thank you. There's Mr. Jordy. So we're going to bill it to him. We're going to tell him this was part of the late pickup fee. And so the late pickup. The quantity was just one of them. And the rate is $10 per hour that he's late. And then that totals it up for us. Please know that anything you type in this box up here where it says message to print on invoice will be publicly printed. It is not a private memo to yourself about the parent, so don't put anything angry or persnickety in there because they'll see it when it prints. And then as it'll total up down here. So if he had multiple charges, like he also had childcare to pay for the next week or month, maybe had a field trip payment to make, we could list all of those things on there, sort of like a line item invoice, so that he would know each of the things he was being charged for. And then we'll go down here, and you'll see here there's a print button, so if you want to export that to print right away, we can do that. And we're going to click Save Changes.
Can you email that to a parent?
At this point, I know we can email receipts. I don't know that we have set up emailing for invoicing yet. But we are going to make note of that. Our person who is taking notes is shaking her head yes, and we will note that and see if we can build that in, because that makes a lot of sense in the digital world. All right, so remember, anything you print in that box will be included, and to be clear, you do not have to wait until after services have been provided to invoice. You can actually invoice the responsible party before care is given, and that actually is best practice. So I can If today is Thursday, I could invoice Jordy tomorrow for Monday through Friday's care of next week and get that to him ahead of time so that he can pay that.
So I'm trying to, so so I think you mean, what if you, and a different food program than WECA, would business records still work? Does that make sense to you?
So at this point, this module is only available to WECA Food Program participants. It is not available to other sponsors unless they work with the developer to offer that to their clients.
And will you be able to put your daycare name on the invoice?
Yes. We can actually...
Yeah, it has, the invoice will print in a window envelope with your return address.
Did everybody hear that? You might want to speak to the mic.
Oh, yeah, the invoice will print, you can stuff it in a window envelope with your return address.
So your information will be on there.
What about a logo on the invoice?
At this point, we don't have the capability of being able to upload a logo, but we will make a note of that and see if it's something that's feasible.
Show of hands, and people have logos.
Can we get a show of hands of how many providers actually have logos for their programs?
Oh.
Lots.
We got some popping up.
Okay.
Maybe.
That's why you guys get the heads up on all this, so then we get all your good ideas and go, that's interesting. All right.
All right.
So I'd say maybe not quite a majority.
About half, it looks like.
Yeah, 20.
All right, so we have duly noted that would be something that might be of interest to folks, and we will see if that's possible. And I'm going to make a disclaimer right now. I am not the developer. I'm not the programmer. I can't promise anything. But we will take back all of these notes and have conversations and see how to work them into the platforms if it's feasible. And I'm hoping that that made my developer smile. All right. Are we ready to move on to the next section of payment posting?
Yes, I'll just share Cathedri's comment that this is awesome.
Oh my gosh, yay! So, okay, I'm going to totally go off script here for a sec. I'm super excited about this project. I was asked a few months ago to be part of it, and I was thrilled. And in working with the developer, everything that we have been talking about that we need to make your life easier, he's been able to say, oh yeah, we can do that. And then I come back and look at it the next time, and he's made it even better than what we started with. So he's been super responsive. He's very dedicated to making sure this actually works and works well for you. And we have a super dedicated team here. So I'm so glad that you are excited about this so far because I'm thrilled. All right, back to script. Okay, back to script. Payment posting. The sweet, sweet sound of payment posting. It should sound like ka-ching, ka-ching. Who is a fan of getting paid for the hard work you do? Raise your hand. Who got the first hand up? Hooray! Look at all of that. This is awesome. This might be the fastest question we've had so far.
You'll see who's not there, not paying attention.
Yeah. Awesome. I would tell you to raise both of them, but we can only see one at a time. So you will see the invoices that we've created for the past amounts owed. If the responsible party makes the payment, you can connect it to the proper invoice and add the amount, which can be a full payment or partial. A note if it is check number, or otherwise if the payment type is cash, credit card, money order, etc. The screen allows you to immediately send or print your receipt to the payor. So we can say, let's make Tina Turner pay, that she showed up with a check. Initially, she owed $520. She has paid of that so far, $400 of it. She walks in with another $80. And today, check number, obviously it's going to be a check then if there's a check number. And then we can either hit, if we want to print it right away, we can print a receipt. If we want to email it, if she has an email on her file, it will go. We know that Tina Turner has not given us an email, so that won't work for her. But that's one reason why you might want to ensure that parents or the responsible financial parties get an email to you so that you can save some paper. And then we'll click Save Payments. And now you'll notice it did the math. Her initial bill, $520. She's now paid $480 of that with $40 outstanding. So if she walks in tomorrow with the other $40, you go through this same process, click in the amount, check number, or let's say she comes in with cash, you would just type in cash because we want to make sure that all of our payments are on record, even those are cash, so that when it comes to the end of the year, all of our income is accounted for. And now you'll notice she has completely paid off that invoice, so she has disappeared because she is no longer an open invoice.
So what about an overpayment? Does it get credited to?
Let's try it and see what happens.
You'll take it.
So this person initially owed $200, Gen X. How cool. She's paid $150 so far, owes $50. Let's say she comes in and pays $100, and let's say she's got a money order. There she goes. Now, if we go to her account, will it show? Oh, what do we have to go under? Not invoicing. Account?
We'll talk about it.
Okay. We have stumped the developer in the middle of the webinar, so that's all right. So we will make sure that if there is an overpayment, that would then show up either as a credit on the account so that would be accounted for. That's why we do these things live, people. Yeah, people are usually just worried about getting paid what they're owed, let alone getting overpaid. So good for you for having that question.
Tammy says, can you put in vacation or absent days?
So like if you were paid for, so here it doesn't give you a memo for the why you're being paid. So I know for YoungStar and for other purposes, showing payment for vacation days is a good thing. So our good fund is taking good notes on that, and we will figure out how to incorporate that so that if you're getting paid for a vacation day or a holiday or that sort of thing, we can actually show that you're getting credit for that financially.
Amy says notes or memo for payments would be helpful.
So that would be back at the checkbook, when you have a deposit, when that parent comes in and pays, who just paid? Gen X just paid that amount. So here are part of your memos. And so if we wanted to do other, and let's say $50 of what, oops, $50 of what she paid was actually for paid holidays, we can track it that way. And we do have it that the memos are going to show up on the report, for the checkbook report. When we get to that, it will pull the memo line across so that if you need to print that out and show that to anybody, like your technical consultant or rater, it will be there.
Amy, are you asking if the notes or the memo should be on the payment screen?
Amy says yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Maybe in addition to payment type, there's also a spot for the payment memo. All right, we've got it noted. I love the feedback we're getting. I don't know if the developer does because it means more work for him, but it's only going to make the product better. All right. Looks like we're...
So you have to enter in a payment twice?
You have to enter in a place where you're depositing the money into your checkbook, just like you do when you go to the bank. And then this actually attaches, this screen here where it says open invoice, actually attaches that payment to this outstanding invoice. Because Fred Smith might have an invoice for 1 month of care. He might have an invoice for additional services, like if you do other, let's say you also offer music lessons as part of your, and you invoice separately for that. He might have a couple of open invoices, so when he pays, it gives you the power to divvy up where is that money actually going for, what is he actually paying for.
Talk about whether or not that's automatically paid into a deposit.
Okay. So our developer is saying that he is considering to think about a way that we could automatically link the deposit to the invoice so that there's not double entry, which seems to be what the question is about.
I guess the question is there ever a case where you would have a payment that wasn't going into your checkbook?
Okay, so the question was, would you ever have a payment that wasn't going into your checkbook? If a parent pays you in cash and you don't enter that into your checkbook as a deposit because you didn't actually go to the bank and deposit it, that would probably throw off your book. So anytime you receive a payment, whether check or cash, even if you don't actually go to the physical bank to deposit it, you would want to make note of it here to keep your books clean and accounted for.
So if you don't enter it twice, your books are off.
So at this point, the way that it's set up, and it sounds like we're reconsidering this, there is a place for you to do the initial deposit, which would be here. And let's say somebody makes a payment. The part of the invoicing or the payment posting is actually attaching that deposit to this person's bill of this amount. And so we can revisit that. If that feels clunky, we can see if we can smooth that out a little bit.
And what if you just ignore the checkbook part and just use the invoice?
That's up to you, Guru. But when it comes to the end of the year, when you're pulling reports, then you won't have any of that data for the different categories of expenses. So let's do an expense, because that might actually give you another piece of information that you really need. So let's say we went to Target today, which I did. Never get out of there under 10 bucks. Oops. You will see I have the possibility of attaching that payment to these different categories. So I bought a lot of household goods on that one. If everything I bought in that purpose is going to be business use, then it would end up staying here at 100%. If all of those materials were going to be shared, it would be whatever my time space percentage is. So when I did child care, that was my time space percentage. So then what it does is actually pulls the math and shows you out of the $345.96, when it comes to tax time, I'm going to be able to write off $190.28 of that. I'm not sure why it's going to the third decimal, because we're super fancy here. We'll get that fixed. And so let's say that the household goods that I got were furnishings for new playrooms. Whoops. Didn't like that. I did something wrong. All right. That's what happens when you do this stuff live, folks. So we will figure out that little bug, but then basically it would pull up over here and deduct that $345. And then what would happen is the money that was spent for the household goods that was categorized in that way would pull through to the end of the year report and show up in my budgeting under that category. So what we've tried to do is link all the boxes so that when you identify either an income category or an expense category and tag that amount, it carries through the whole module so that you can pull up reports with all of those same categories at the end of the year.
And will you have the ability to break down each category for a single bill? Like if I go to Walmart and buy food and toys, is that 2 entries?
At this point it is, but we are looking at, as we get to make this more complex, that will be one of the things that we'll be working towards, is that you can have one entry at Target or Walmart and break down $200 was this, $17 was that, $13 was this.
And is there an area that will track your mileage for each store trip?
Not yet, but that's coming, because that's been brought up a couple times that mileage needs to also be tracked here. So we weren't able to get that completed before we debuted today.
Do I continue to use my calendar along with online?
You can continue to use your calendar to mark down, like let's say you went on a trip tonight and went to Target. If you have that as part of your data record to justify your business expenses, the IRS is never going to say that's a bad idea. So you don't have to, because you'd also have your receipt and you would have it noted here. But if you have a calendar, all the better.
She does, so thanks.
All right.
So if you don't use the checkbook and just use the invoice, for what total the amount paid by each parent at the end of the year?
Yeah. It's coming? Okay. You guys are asking great questions.
Specific. So let's take like one more question, but then maybe just hold some of these. I want to make sure you get through your content. So Minute Menu Pro doesn't make you type in the exact percentage for business use. Could you have the option to click to say item is time space, so at the end of the year after you have figured out the hours worked, you'd actually put in the exact percentage?
We can talk about that. So for some items, people know that it's going to be used a certain percentage for, let's say, private use and a certain percentage for the business. For some things, you're right. You don't know until the end of the year exactly what your exact time space percentage is. So it would be smart for us to figure out a way that you can go back and kind of tag all of those items that are going to be time space, and then at the end of the year when you have that figured out, be able to enter it once, and then it goes back and retroactively figures what that time space percentage is. So we'll talk about that because that's a great idea.
Okay.
Are we moving on?
Well,
or we have another question?
They're still sort of on this area.
Okay.
So I take parent payments, but my husband deposits the checks on another date. It would be a pain to always ask him how much he deposited when, and then record it separately. Minute Menu has, I assume that's what NMK is, has a section to record expenses, and you can print an expense report at the end of the year.
So we will have an income and expense report available to you at the end of the year. I would like to talk to you further about your concern about when you're posting stuff and how to capture that data, because then we can more carefully construct what we're doing here. So I'm going to just ask if you want to email me or call me at after the webinar, maybe tomorrow, over the weekend, whatever. I will give you my phone number and we can talk more carefully about that so we make sure we understand your concern.
Minute Menu calculates the time space for you and applies it to your, what's TS? Time space expenses, sorry.
So the next section that we're doing is actually the time tracking, and so it might make sense for us to move forward into that so we can see how that is going to connect. Okay. Obviously, you all know that tracking this provider's time is required for those in family child care who live in the place where they provide care, and it's tied to a provider's time space percentage. Clearly, you all know this stuff because you are asking excellent questions. The time space percentage is located on tax form 8829, line 7. Yes, I am that nerdy. Tracking children's attendance is also required for the food program as well as licensing and certification. So for the children's time in and time out, we have the names automatically pull over from the meal program, so you don't have to add that again. We have multiple in and out slots per child because we know that sometimes children leave your program and return for doctor's appointments, lunch with a parent, or before and after school care. So you should have multiple times that they can come in and come out and come back and be able to still track that. And then over here in this column, it will total the total number of hours and minutes that they were in your care. You do not have to use this. You already may have this calculated or taken care of with your attendance records and other ways. That's totally fine. We just wanted to build this in case people wanted to use the math calculations for invoicing and charging for parents and that sort of stuff. For the provider time, you need to track the hours you work in your home related to your business. And that can include child care hours, of course, but we know you all put in a ton of hours when the children are not present. YoungStar has created a resource, okay, I admit it, I wrote it, that further defines what tasks can be counted. I will show you where to find it, and you can always email me and ask for it, and I can send it to you. So I'm going to quickly show you where that is available. You go to the Tips and Tools website. This is the magic place where everything YoungStar is housed for providers. The website is up here. You can always email me too and ask for the link, and I can send it to you directly. If you scroll down slowly, slowly, so no one gets seasick, this is my favorite box, business and professional practices. If you go to the third star down, budget and tax quality indicator information, there is all sorts of information for family child care providers. So all the paper forms that were in the budget tutorial link that I showed you earlier are housed here. And then there's also a resource called Keeping Track of Hours Worked in the Home. And we're just going to quickly pull it up. We're not going to read the whole thing, but basically this is a 2-page document that tells you all the different types of hours that you are allowed to calculate for your additional business hours when children are not present. So there's that for you. So those would be some of the tasks that you would end up entering here. So being at this webinar right now, if you are in your home where you provide childcare and where you live, you can actually count the time that you are taking this class as part of the task that is related to your business. So whatever time you would start, if some of you logged on early, you would type in here. The time we finish, you would end up here. It would automatically calculate it for you. This would be considered non-child care because you're not actually taking care of children during this time. And then you would just type in webinar. At the end of the year, this will total up all of your hours and then help calculate the time space percentage. At this point, we don't have an automatic calculator that will come up with the percentage, but that will be an easy enough thing for us to do. So we can absolutely build that in so that it will calculate your percentage for you. All right, bring on the questions.
So will you be adding a checkbox to mark for training?
At this point, we would just have, you would write in your memo line whatever in the tasks over here. If there was the webinar, if you were cleaning, if you were doing menus, if you were doing cooking, is there a specific reason why you would prefer to have a training box marked, separate from any other kind of category?
And then while we're waiting for Marlene, so here's another question. What if to track hours for training?
So just for like licensing to show that you've done these things? Because my guess is you would have your registry record that would have all of that and give you the actual titles that you did and the more official format.
So Deborah's suggesting a drop-down box with a few main choices that could be available.
That is something we can absolutely do. And I believe that we also have it set up so that if you start typing, so if I started typing "we" for webinar, it autofills it. So if there are tasks that you do often, it will kind of autofill based on your initial few letters.
And what if I have children in attendance but not on the food program because they're not here for any meals? Can I enter them for attendance without them being on the food program?
So I'm looking at my food program person who's in the room. So we're going to scoot down to the children's time. So if you have them on your file as enrolled, would they be able to enroll in that area or add here a child who's not officially in the food program?
I show up if they went in and pre-enrolled.
So if they pre-enrolled, they could then autofill it here.
Right.
Okay. So my food program person is saying if that child is pre-enrolled, that they would autofill onto this column here, even if they're not on the food program, and then you would be able to track their time. And she's nodding her head yes, because you can't see that because it's audio.
So nothing else specific to that.
Okay. I'm going to scoot up slowly. I always know I get seasick when people flip around quickly. All right, so our final chunk are the reports. These are all printable. The main thing is to remember that your reports are only as good as the data you put in. If you are scattered with your entries, your reports are not going to tell you the full story at the end of the year. So they say garbage in, garbage out. The checkbook report. So here you enter a date range, and it provides entries from that time period in report form. This can be useful to check against bank records to ensure that you both agree. So let's go Way back machine. And now you will see that we have the date that we made the entry, if it was a check number, what the memo was. So here I had a deposit that had multiple families, and so I wanted to make sure that I gave credit to each family in my memo line so that I would keep track of that. Here it has the running total, if it was income or if it was an expense. And here is where the categories line up, so that when we made those deposits or made those withdrawals, we were able to pick a category. So if we want to easily pull, we can then see which ones came up for which. And at the bottom of the report, right here it says demonstration provider. This is where it would have your name for your program listed, so that it would automatically build that into your report format. And here's all the export stuff, but I believe it's been disabled right now so that I don't mess anything up while we're live. Yeah? All right, he says I can try it. Excel?
Because people were asking about whether or not they can export it.
There we go. All right, I didn't break anything. This is promising. And then if we want to do PDF, open that. This is like magic, folks. And then if we go down to the bottom here again, that will be built in. There's our checkbook report. And those are printable. All right, any questions popping up on that one? Next report is income and expense. The income expense report shows your actual spend for the time period you determine. This report adds some additional information based on your business use of items. As we know, not all items are used 100% for business. This report pulls out a part of it to show you the detail. Back up a bunch to make sure I hit all of our practice numbers that we added. Go up slowly here. So here are the entries. If we had any business net use that was not, like this one was 100% because there was an expense and the expense is exactly the same. Up here it shows you how you're doing with your monthly budgeting amounts. And then down here you'll see that for this check number, the withdrawal was $40 that they paid to Walmart. Only 80% of it was for the business. So then it nets out what that amount is going to be. And here's a friendly little reminder so that you don't freak out. Like, wait, I actually paid $40. Why is it only showing 32? And then we try to add the shading in, so as you have more entries on here, there will be the off and on shading just to kind of help you distinguish and be able to read as all the numbers fill up the page. And again, this one, same thing. You can export it to Excel or a PDF. So you pick your format first and then hit export. And I'm pausing for questions.
All right. So would I have to figure out my own percentage of business use if it's justified with just the time-space formula? Example is utilities.
No, so if your utilities are time space, we will set it up so that it will just automatically tag that as a time space expense. And so we're going to have to figure out how to go back and do that so that we can actually, it might be just like a tick box that yes, this is an expense at the time space, like straight up, no other messing around, and then we will be able to pull that through pretty easily, I'm thinking. My developer is shaking his head yes. I love how he's my developer all of a sudden. This is awesome. Your developer, I should say.
And could you enter last year's info so you would have it all on file, or do you have to start with 2015?
You can go back as far as you want to enter the records if you have them. We tried to push this out early this year so that it was early enough for people who wanted to start with 2015, wouldn't have to go back and enter too much before the program was available. If you have 2014 stuff and want to enter that so that you kind of have a running start into 2015 with that, you can go ahead and do that.
And what if your computer crashes? How do you save it all?
It's all saved.
It's all saved on the, there's like basically the cloud or the server that has it all, so that it's backed up kind of not on your computer per se. You have access it through your computer, but once you hit this portal, when you go into the child CACFP.net page, that actually accesses where it's stored. So nobody else can get to it because you have a secure password that protects it all, but that it's backed up there for you. So if your personal computer crashes, you can walk over to your neighbor's house, hop on their computer, hit oh my gosh, I'm losing my CACFP.net page, enter in your password, and you'll be right back where you need to be for your financial records.
So can you back it up?
You can export. At this point, we don't have a saving function to your personal computer. It's just basically access through the portal.
So Annette says that there's a lot of new providers that don't know about time space. Where can they get that information that tells them what to do?
They come to a business training with me, and I will happily walk them through it personally because I want them to know what that is.
And when a provider leaves the food program, they no longer have access to this website. If that happens, would I still have access to it?
Yes, you would still have access to it because you would still be able to go to that web page, go to that tab at the very beginning. I'm just going to click up there. And where you clicked in to get onto your password, like you would still have that. So we would go to the home page here, and you can get onto this page whether or not you don't have to log in here. Once you hit your business records, you would still have to log in with your personal password, and then you'd be able to access your information.
Can you just use the checkbook and not the invoice?
Yep. Up to you, kangaroo, as I say.
Tammy just clarified yet to back it up to a drive, to an external drive.
So you can,
The answer is no. Right?
at this point, no, but you can export. So if you export to Excel, I think at that point you'd be able to save it onto your own stuff. Or if you export a PDF, that you can't change because it's kind of locked as a PDF, but then you would have the data available to you.
So Mary says when they leave the food program, they don't have access to that page.
We're working on granting them access when they enter their business password.
Okay, so we're working on creating kind of a separate door for those folks who are no longer on the food program but still need to be able to access their financial information through their financial password. But you don't want to leave the food program, come on.
I notice on my URL window that it says HTTP, not HTTPS.
For security.
Does that mean it's not secure?
I'll take a look.
Our developer will look into that. Oh, now I have to look back.
What do I do to figure my time space number for 2015? My tax preparer does this for me each year.
Well, I will say that while they do it, you still need to know how it is done. And if you want to have a conversation about that, I'm not going to do it here for this webinar, but I will happily talk you through that so that you have that information. Because I love time space percentages. And I'm not even kidding. I really will have a one-on-one conversation with you.
Sounds like a good webinar.
If that might be our next webinar. Thanks for that suggestion.
So, and Kelly's suggesting that you take business training. We are setting up our trainings all over the state right now. So please watch our website for that information. Yes, please, a time-space webinar.
Okay. Raise your hand if you would like a time-space webinar, or you know somebody, a provider. Oh, look at all the hands. Oh, that's very interesting. Okay. That was super, super helpful, actually. So Andrea is making a mental note that that will be something we work on for our next webinar for you all.
Would it be too much work to record information in your calendar keeper and then record it online?
No, you are welcome to track it on paper. When I did family child care, most of my stuff I did on paper because I didn't have something awesome like this. So if that's what's easy for you in the moment, for you to jot down this stuff and then you sit down once a week and then enter it all in, that's totally fine. You don't have to do it in the moment, every moment, if that doesn't work for you.
So good to know about access. Same if you retire and you need to keep the records for 7 years. Also, are records automatically deleted after 7 years, or will we need to delete them?
We'll do it.
The developer will delete them. They will set it up so that it's automatic time after 7 years. They're no longer held.
And so if you're with the 4C Food Program, Shermarie, you didn't finish your question, but this is available only to WECA Food Program at this time.
One of the super awesome benefits you get being with WECA. All right, can I move to the next one?
Yes, let me
Okay.
just give you a comment. This is exciting. I can't wait to start.
This is exciting. She can't wait to start. Who was that?
Jackie.
Yay, Jackie. Shout out to you.
She says it'll be nice to finally have the paperwork under control.
Yay, can we use that in our marketing, please? That was awesome. That's exactly why we created this, and I super strongly believe in providers having supports to be able to take care of the financial management of their business, because we're all really good at being with the kids, but we have not all received the sort of training we need to be small business owners, and so I am delighted that you are finding this useful.
So that's all. I think we're good for now.
Okay. We have just a few more reports to look through. This is the year-to-date spending report. This report shows the categories in which you have spent money, and the nice thing is it also includes your budgeted amount in the first column and your total spending in that category in the last column. My financial password. See how good this is? I wasn't doing it, and then it's making me pop in there. All right. Year-to-date spending. We'll go 2014. Is that when all the fake ones were entered? So, for those of you that need to show that you're tracking your income and your expenses, this is a great thing that you can show. So we have not, here in this first column is the budgeted amounts. And then here is each month what was spent in all those different accounts. And then it totals it out for you at the end. So it totals it as far as category going this way. And then, not to make you seasick, totals down for January, everything that was spent top to bottom. So you basically get totals per category and per month built into one report. And again, this one also is exportable. Exportable, is that even a word?
No.
It is now. You can export this report either to a PDF or Excel. So fairly straightforward. But I will pause for questions because that's what I've done for every single other one.
A couple questions about how long to keep the records. So what if I want to keep the records longer? If a family had multiple children and their total time in my program is over 7 years, I'd want a record of their account from the beginning.
So they would still have an invoice. They would have an account with you for as long as they had children with you, and so you would, the clock would not start ticking until that last child was done. Because those records would end up being active during the years that they were with you. That's my understanding.
And Shelley is saying we should check with Tom Copeland on how long you need to keep the tax records, because he told her that you only need to keep most everything for 3 years, not the 7 that everyone thinks.
You can double check. So basically it's 3 years, but then there's also an audit period after that that's available. And so I think the 7 is kind of, the 3 years you have to keep it plus the audit period, and then maybe a little cushion just because. But we will definitely look into that. And it looks like we have another.
For YoungStar, do we need a SIMI, I don't know what that means, and yearly comparison line?
So for YoungStar, you need to show what you thought you were going to spend, and that's the budget amount, and what you actually spent. The paper copies at this point have a variance column, which means what's the difference between what you thought you were going to spend and what you actually spent. I think at this point we do not have room on this page to squeeze that in. If we need a variance report added, then that's something that we can figure out. That wouldn't be too hard to do, I don't think. My dear colleague Andrea is perusing questions.
So another question about the HTTPS, and so somebody asked about that, Marlene, and I think we're checking.
Yes, we're going to double check for the security HTTPS.
So we'll send a follow-up email once we're done. It'll probably go out next week. WECA is actually closed on Monday, just so you know. And so we can include some of those answers in that email along with, for instance, the URL to the YoungStar page, things like that.
Are we ready for the
Yes.
next? Okay. Next report, oh my gosh, this one's super easy. Meal served. It is exactly what it says. Look at that. There are the meals served. So if you have breakfast, morning snacks, lunches, PM snacks, dinners, and evening snacks. Now my question to my food person in the room is, let's say I served 87 breakfasts that were creditable and that I got paid for, but let's say I had 6 that I did not get reimbursed for. Are those 6 going to show up on this report?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they are.
You want them broken out?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
I will just tell you that right now.
Okay.
So yes, there'll be now coming up 2 columns, those which were reimbursed through the program and those which were not reimbursed, but that you get to claim for tax purposes. We are pausing to see if there are any questions. Or any comments, I guess? There's a like. Somebody likes this.
So Angelique, I'm not sure what you mean. So Angelique says she agrees the program's awesome, but thinks it should have been introduced long ago in the CCPI system.
I don't know what the CCPI system is. And I will say that we weren't able to produce it any earlier than this, but it would be nice, like if we would have had this from the beginning of time so that we would have our records in order.
And so let us know what CCPI is, Angelique, because she's also asking, is this something that will be state pay site, CCPP?
Is that, okay, so my guess is that's the portal that you use for working with the families on Wisconsin Shares. And so this is not affiliated with that at this point, and I don't think it's going to be because this is kind of a private program that WECA is in the process of developing through CACFP.net and our wonderful developer. So I don't think that there's going to be any interface between those 2 programs at this time or in the future, just to be really honest.
Thank you for clarifying that. Shelley checked her records. Tom Copeland had posted on March 11th of last year that there's a widespread rumor that family child care providers should save their tax records for 7 years. I've heard this at workshops I conduct across the country. This is Tom, I guess. But it's not true. The general rule is that you should keep your tax records for 3 years, not 7.
All right, Tom said it. We have it in writing. I will tell you, though, that that does not mean your actual, excuse me, tax returns. Tax returns like your 1040, your 8829, all of those, your Schedule C, those are kept indefinitely for the rest of your life. It is the supporting documents that don't have to be kept after the 3 years.
And so, Deborah, I'm not sure what you mean. That will come up automatically. So if we were on something and we've gone past it, let me know what exactly you mean. And also Marlene says 3 columns, reimbursed, non-reimbursed, and a total.
There we go.
Okay.
We got it.
They understand more than I do.
I love that you guys are so on this, that not only are you excited about it, but you're already able to offer really useful critiques of how to make it even better. This is awesome.
Oh, Deborah says the meals served, just got explained. All right.
There you go, see? Yay. We try to be responsive. All right, I'm looking at the clock, so I'm going to move forward. And we will have time at the end, too, for some questions. I just want to make sure that I hit all of the pieces. So, print invoice. Wow, the developer made this last bit really easy for me. This, too, is exactly what it says. You enter the invoice number you want to print. Oh, I already have one. Do I have to do 10 times? All right. And it prints exactly what you entered in a nice invoice form. There we go. Notice, this is a great example of garbage in, garbage out. Because it all just says test, 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 test. Make sure your numbers are solid and check them twice. Extra credit bonus. If you look at the 2015 YoungStar criteria, you get credit for doing this exact thing on page 41. Or if you're looking at the 2014 criteria, it's on page 39. Yes, nerdiness strikes again. So, any questions on the invoicing?
Could you add tier payments?
Yes. Food program tiered payments?
I'm not sure what she's asking.
Can you clarify which tier payments you mean, if it's food program?
Yes.
Okay. So those would be under our checkbook when we do our deposit, when we do our income. We have a CACFP line item that we can add because we always want to be able to show our food program income as separate from any other income on our tax forms. Will that do what you need to do?
Yes.
And she says yes. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. All right. Man, I'm having a blast. I hope you all are.
How are we on time?
It's about 10 to 8. And I have just a few more things. Yeah, I have that much left. So again, this is the dashboard. This is the quick peek at how we're doing financially, a sort of snapshot. It shows the checkbook registers last 10 entries on this side. And on this side, it shows the budget with those expenses. You can see at a glance how you're doing and what you spent so far. So that's all we have for the module exploration. What's fabulous is that this is ready for you to use now. And as you can tell, there will be changes rolling out. So it may look different the next time you log in, or a week from now, or 2 weeks from now. This is a fantastic Happy New Year's gift to be able to give to you. Happy 90 days until tax time. But yay to be able to provide this great tool to help you get your financial house in order. So we're going to return to the PowerPoint for our closing information.
I have a couple more questions, though, or just
A few more questions before we flip over.
Will you show us what parent receipts look like?
At this point, we don't have that option live. There was some kinks we were working out, and we couldn't get them finished right before the module for the webinar tonight, but we will get that to you as soon as we are able. And I apologize for the delay.
Is there a year-to-date report for parent payments?
Not
Not yet.
Not yet. But we are making a note that that will be coming.
We can add all kinds of reports.
Our developer says reports are easy because we already have the data built forms already in there, so it's just a matter of pulling those data into report form. So if there are things that you think you need reports on that you've entered the data for here, let us know and we can do it within reason and within feasibility.
So Marlene just says we get asked that for flex spend.
Okay, so when parents are working with their company and they allow you to be able to get paid through the pre-held tax dollars, that's what you're talking about, we should be able to do that. We are making a note.
Duly noted.
Duly noted.
Can the parents use their receipts for their taxes?
Yes. And that's also, we were talking about the W-10 report. That is what the one that usually has your EIN number on it and does the year-to-date of how much they've spent. That they usually, that's the form that they usually use, but they can also use a year-end statement from you in that purpose.
Marlene's just clarifying, yes, we get asked for a quarterly payment so they can get reimbursed from their flex spend. spend.
Yeah, so we should be able to work that out, that we can help you do a year-to-date or quarterly or whatever you need to. You can set the date parameters just like you were able to set it for the other reports, so that you could do a first quarter payment year-to-date expenditure for them. This is so awesome, you guys. You're giving us really good feedback.
Just a couple other tax comments. CACFP keeping them forever. And Barbara says, I was told that you can get audited up to 10 years back.
So I think that depends on if they find something that is a red flag. So if you are audited within the 3-year audit period, if they find something in that audit period that is troublesome, I think at that point they can go back further. I always counsel folks 10 years. And I know it seems extreme, but it is completely covering your bases if anything should happen. So I know Tom Copeland says 3, and he has absolute correct grounding for that. But knowing that there is a small possibility that things might need to get pulled back even further than that. So I know it's a lot of paper to hang on to, but I always counsel 10. All right.
So any more questions? A lot of thank yous up here, so you're so welcome.
Delighted, actually. The pleasure was all ours. So we have just a tiny little bit of a PowerPoint to finish up just so you know how to get registry credit and an extra special surprise for you. Oh, yeah. The one I want conference. Oh, yeah.
Are you talking about that?
I am going to talk about that.
All right, so I am going to take back control from Kelly.
Dun, 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 dun.
And show my screen. Hopefully you see Kelly's face there.
So, can you go to the next? There we go. So not only do you get registry credit for participating today, you get something even better. You get me. That's right. You can sign up for one-on-one business practice support. I can actually sit down with you and help you get your financial house in order when it comes to your family child care business. In addition, you can sign up for WECA's business trainings that are specially tailored to family child care providers and are taught by me. I promise they are not boring. So please be in touch by phone. My phone number is 920-420-6426, or email me to set something up. Please note I work a part-time schedule with WECA, but whenever I know that it's a family child care provider contacting me, you guys bump up to the top of the list for returning calls. So Andrea is going to talk you through the last bit of our webinar evening together, and I just want to thank you so much for being part of this historic event.
Kelly, thank you.
Woohoo!
Thank you very much. So Mr. Nameless Developer is Mike Spevacek, sorry. Cindy Poole is also here. She's the director of the food program. So, all right. So I have to go. So thank you. Thank you for attending. Thank you, Kelly, so much. Appreciate it. So on to the registry credit. And I can't type and talk at the same time, so I'm going to talk first. In a minute, I'm going to type this URL into the chat box, which will get sent to you, and you'll have a live link. So I'm just going to explain this, that only people that participated in the live webinar can receive registry credit. We do sometimes archive and post the recordings of the webinars. You may not get registry credit for just watching them back afterwards, just so everybody knows that. We've had a little confusion. You do need to complete the survey right away. If you have any questions at all, email me at training@Wisconsin Early Childhood, or you have my direct email as well, and we will take care of you. So now I am going to find the chat box. Sorry about this. And I will put that back up on the screen in just a minute, but I'm just going to type the URL in for you so that you'll be able to click on it. So it's https://www.surveymonkey. See, I can't type and talk.com. CACFP webinar. I'm just going to double check this. Did I type it correctly? No.
It's high stakes typing.
Tiny, really tiny on my screen. Okay, so I'm going to send this to you. It should show up in your chat window. You should be able to click on that link and have it take you directly to a SurveyMonkey. Feel free to raise your hand if you're not able to see that, and I'm going to put the last screen back up so that you can see it there. So that concludes the webinar for tonight. Thank you everybody for attending. So we have recorded this. I'm not sure yet if we're going to be posting it for people to see. So we'll let you know in the follow-up email. All right, thanks everybody. So Felicia, you're on a tablet, so I know there are times when if you're on a phone or a tablet that you won't be able to see it. So you can just look at this and type it in, or just email me and I'll send you the link directly if you're not able to do it this way. Now I'm leaving again. Another question. So if you're not able to see the chat window, you should be able to open the whole dashboard using the little red arrow. But if you're not able to see it, you can just type this, so write it down maybe, and then type it in exactly as you see it into your browser window. So I'll leave this up for at least another 30 minutes for you. And if that doesn't work, please just email me and I'll send it. Because she's awesome. All right, thanks everybody.
Good night.
Good night.